The council, another great friend of mine is Paul Perez, and he joined by a very highly respected man, Art Del Cueto. Art Del Cueto, Vice President. And maybe we could ask them to come on up. We're also joined very proudly today by a large delegation of our nation's frontline border agents. These are incredible people. So let's show our appreciation for their unbelievable service to our country.
America, I have a message for you. If we allow Borders-Czar Harris to win this election, every city, every community in this great country is going to go to hell. The untold millions of people, unvetted, who she has allowed into this country that are committing murders, rapes, robberies, burglaries, and every other crime will continue to put our country in peril. Only one man can fix that. And that is Donald J. Trump. He has always stood with the men and women who protect this border, who put their lives on the line for the country. A man who knows about putting his life on the line for what is right. This November, we have a choice to make. Continue the chaos, allow the criminal cartels to control the border, to allow drugs and fentanyl across our country, or put an end to it once and for all. On behalf of the 16,000 men and women represented by the National Border Patrol Council, we strongly support and endorse Donald J. Trump for President of the United States.
Oh, that's weird. The Border Patrol's come out and endorsed Donald Trump. I wonder why. Let's take a look.
How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration, because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you
now,
just a number? Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have an
it's a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get you the question. I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
Jocelyn Nungari, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration. Do you owe
Brett,
those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that.
So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss. Sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
So all they did was say, our bill that doesn't secure the border, that we want to secure the border, didn't get passed. So instead of doing anything, they could have done anything. We're just going to leave the border wide open. So that was their answer, to just leave the border wide open.
Included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress before We worked on infrastructure before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the Chips and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act. The first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the
finish?
Yes, ma'am.
May I finish?
The first bill that she's talking about, it did nothing to secure the border. There was nothing in the bill about securing the border. Anyone can go look this up. She's lying.
It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done as the Attorney General, former Attorney General of a border state.
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
Prosecuted trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish.
Six Democrats voted against that bill.
Learned about that bill and told them to kill it. Focused on fixing it.
6 Democrats voted against that bill. It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants into the country a year. A lot of conservatives had a problem with it. These are the 6 Democrats. There have been changes, and you've talked about some of them. When it comes to immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for driver's license, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free health care. Do you still support those things?
Listen, that was 5 years ago, and I'm very clear that I will follow the law. I have made that statement over and over again, and as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done, not to mention before.
If that's the case, you chose a running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who...
Tampon Tim the tampon man.
Let's be very clear. I'm the only person who's running for president who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations, from the Sinaloa cartel.
So when she says she's going to follow the law, they changed the laws. So what she's saying is, we'll get them in here, then we'll change the laws to get whatever the illegals they need, because it's millions and millions of people and they need these people's votes. So how are they going to guarantee their votes? They're going to change laws, pass new laws in order to benefit all these illegals, to keep them on the Democrat plantation for the next 50 years. And she never prosecuted transnational gangs. She's lying. There's another lie right there. That's 2 lies right there. She never prosecuted transnational gangs. Go look it up. She barely did anything, man. She worked in sex crimes for 2 years, tried 8 cases. That's it. She did refuse to prosecute a cop killer, though, in San Francisco. She did that.
They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam Vice President.
You and I both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
What? So like a typical liberal woman, she refuses to take accountability. You guys know those chicks that you date, those liberal chicks that decide, oh, I want to be more conservative, I want to stop being such a floozy, you know what I mean? And they get with the guy that they like, but the guy's like, you know what, I just you're just not my type. Like, I'm not really digging like this whole boss babe liberal woman thing. You're argumentative, you're not agreeable, you're a headache. And then they start trying to change, but they can't let go of that annoying, insufferable liberal woman inside of them. And they have to just hold on to it. That's like Kamala. She cannot take accountability for anything. Zero accountability.
with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances and it being about him instead of the American people. People are tired of that.
If that's the case, why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
What the fuck are you even doing here?
He's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Bret, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you,
that was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it.
But you do not want to mess with me.
Oh, calm down, Jamal. Don't pull out the 9.
So what she's talking about right there is a policy. It's meant for when people are protesting and they already know when it's going to get violent, because Antifa is online, they're on Twitter, they're on Instagram. They announce everywhere they're going to be. Where Antifa goes, violence follows. He wants to introduce policies that will put a National Guard or something in place, so when they are there and they start trying to destroy the city, there's already going to be somebody there that's ready to handle the threat. But she likes to gaslight you and say it's peaceful protesters. No, that's not what the fuck he's talking about. She's a fucking idiot.
Significance of that.
You call Donald Trump, he's misguided. You say now
he's
unstable.
He is unstable, Bret.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room. And he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Bret, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And Donald Trump
but
is.
You talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him at least once a week for 3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns?
I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump, which is why the people who know him best.
So Joe's most trusted cabinet member is George Clooney, a fucking washed up, libtard actor, piece of shit. Like, fucking Ocean's 11 actor ousted the president. Okay? The Ocean's 11 actor ousted the president. It's like, what fucking world are we living in, dude? So the question isn't how stupid are you? It's how stupid does she think you are? It's how much are you willing to let her get away with? Alright guys, that's it. Thanks, like, comment, subscribe. Get your fucking shit together.